My name is Benjamin Garcia Sachs, and I'm from Costa Rica. This house is in Costa Rica, and it's for my mother. The house is on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. It's a tropical country, and it's very, very close to the beach. It's not on the beach, but it's very close. I think I would like to talk a little bit about myself and to understand the house. When I was very young, my mom, I was taken away from my mom because she had difficult times. She was in alcohol and drugs and things. So I was taken away from her, and so we never had a place to be together. And she always was in trouble. So she went, after a while, she went to the beach and she built this house for herself, and with just pieces of wood and scrap and pieces of tin. And we, for the first time, had a house where we could be together. The house was falling apart, and of course, I wanted to give her something that that was proper. And so, living in that house, I wanted to just learn from her. What does she want? What is she? What's her experience? So this is a story that I want to tell about my experience in that house. She wakes up when the moon is going down. The loud noise of the crickets reminds her that it is surrounded by the forest. The warmth of the rising sun filters through the leaves and warms the rough wood floors. She knows it's time to make bread. The chirping has changed to bird singing. The stove heats the air, and the smell seeps through every crack into the forest. My mom goes outside to take a shower under the water tank, and suddenly a sporadic rain mingles with her drops. She runs into the house and dries up with the heat of the stove. I wake up and realize that it's morning. The sun is up and there is a fresh bread on the table. I can see that my mom is planting an aloe vera plant in the dirt floor of her living room. She somehow knows the perfect place for it to grow. The sun rays hit the tin roof. She opens all doors, all screens, and the windows, and the wind picks up the Hindu drapes. I can also see the recently washed blankets waving the rope strung between the two big trees that give shade to the house. The wind picks up the leaves and brings them into the house. My mom is always cleaning, but nothing is ever clean. There is not much to do, but she manages to keep herself busy between tarot cards, left-hand political readings, pot, and a seldom phone call. She moves about the house trying to find a place with a better signal. She has found such a place between the front door and the tree. She has placed a rock there where she can sit to talk for hours. My mom wants to take me to the beach, but I can see that she is worried about leaving the house alone. She hides some of her most valuable possessions, books, pictures, and the pot. She places a tree branch in front of the entrance, leaves the door wide open, and then screams, "Bye, we'll see you later," as if there was someone still in the house. To me, it seems as if she is saying goodbye to her house, and the house mumbles through the forest as we walk farther and farther away from the radio. We walk through the forest into the dirt road that reaches the beach break. My mom goes down for a swim in the ocean, and after a while sits next to me to watch the sunset. She is dazzled with the sight, even though she has seen it hundreds of times. She explains that we should head back in order to catch the last glimpse of sun rays that will lead the way back to the house. We begin to rehear the radio, getting louder and louder as she gets closer to the house. She checks all her natural alarms that tell her if anyone has been around the house, from the tree branch in the front of the door to the hanging ceramic fishes. The sunlight is dimming, and soon the forest will be illuminated by the bright moon. She is afraid that darkness will bring an intruder to disturb us. The candles provide a flickering light while she plays the guitar. She prepares a quick meal, which is hard to eat because of the lack of light. The moonlight enters the house, and I know that soon she will go to sleep. She has placed her bed in a corner of the house where there is a direct view of the moon while she goes to sleep. She washes her face and wraps her body in soaking towels that lower her body temperature throughout the night. I can see that the moon sight dazzles her every time, and the sounds of the cricket put her to sleep. Every once in a while, she wakes up in distress by the chirping noise of her natural alarms, from the carefully placed gravel around the house to the dry branches that surround her bed. The only thing that gives her comfort is the illuminating sight of the moon moving through the trees. I started making drawings, or basically paintings of the inside of her house, basically where she goes to sleep and the moon on the left-hand side, just trying to see what was that. She put her bed in intuitively. She's not an architect. She just put it there because she found it beautiful. She later told me that she put her bed there because when she looks at the moon, it reminds me of me when I'm far away. Somehow I knew that was something beautiful, important. I began to create some drawings that also reflect the permeability of the forest, or how could I create a new forest for her, a secure forest. I also began to create models that were spatial, models about perhaps looking at the stars, looking at the moon, perhaps even looking through light coming through the trees. I came to a conclusion that I was gonna actually make a house that was gonna hold the moon for her, so that when she goes to sleep, she remembers me. There's a connection that architecture can make between her and me, even though there's a distance. And then when she goes to sleep, and the moon fades away slowly, and you know, she goes calmly to sleep. At the same time, I went and looked at in my country the materials that we have. I went to bamboo forest. I saw bamboo on the floor, and I thought that it was beautiful, that somehow it related to some of the drawings and models I was making. I got a little bit inspired. So at the end, what I planned to do was a house that actually inverted the role of the forest, brought the forest on the inside of the house, and split the house in half, basically creating a secure place for her to be. It was done in 2 modules. One module was the bedroom, and the other one, the more social living space. Also, it was done this way because we didn't have the money to make the 2 modules at once. So she lived in one side first, and then moved to the other side, to her bedroom to the other side, and then connected the house together with this internal courtyard. The house is basically two volumes, 2 cones that actually pick up the sun, pick up the moon, but also create a layer of air that makes the house being able to be ventilated, and somehow also draws out the hot air, because it is very, very dry and very hot during the summer and very humid during the winter, or during the rainy season actually. I want to talk a little bit also about the construction. I had a lot of the design. I did do it in my desk, and etc. But I actually experimented with the material. I built the house myself, so I actually began to see, how do we cut the bamboo? How do we do it? I had to make a lot of decisions right on site, because things were not as I expected. Actually, that made things much more beautiful, because I found things and made decisions that were not expected, that I'm still trying to continue to make this effect happen, or this project happen. There were simple people that taught me how to build and how to weld, how to bend rebar. At some point when we were building it, we saw the moon for the first time through this cone, and it was a very powerful moment for my mom and I. For me, it was the first time that I realized that somehow architecture was powerful. It was much more than what I thought. It was a realization that I would never expected. I almost only dreamed about it. The house is made of bamboo, or basically it's bamboo clad on a steel frame. All the materials that we have, the tin roof that you see here, is from the old house, from the shack that she made herself. The wood of the terraces and of the 2 flanking closets or service spaces are also wood from trees from the site and recycled from the old house. So we're just trying to use those same materials and make them beautiful. The bamboo itself, we cut from a farm that is very close, and we learned how to actually not make it break. And at the end of the day, you focus on the bamboo, but there is really a steel frame that's holding all the bamboo together. It's like a cage. So when she goes to sleep, she can open the door inside of her own forest and still feel secure. There's a constant ventilation. She doesn't like to have air conditioning, and it can get very hot. So there's a constant ventilation that is always seeping through through the bamboo. Well, it's also important that in the morning, when she wakes up, the sun hits the east facade, and on the sunset it hits the west facade. So you see the travel of the sun through this courtyard throughout the day, and the shadows change. This is in the morning, where you see the sun hit hit that east facade, and then in the afternoon, you see the shadows come all the way in, and there's just a change of shadows throughout the day. Things I sort of knew that these things were going to happen, but when they did happen, I was surprised. The bamboo almost hangs. It's not perfect when it's on the courtyard, and when there's very strong winds, the bamboo hit each other and makes beautiful sounds as well. So it seems like the house is somehow alive, almost like when she said goodbye. We'll see you later. When in the internal actual spaces of the house, they're lined up with a natural material used to carry coffee beans, which is jute, and that creates that does create much more enclosure. It prevents mosquitoes coming in, etc. So it's just a way to create more security. looking up into the canopy of bamboo. It almost feels like you're looking up into trees. The light seeps through the roundness of the bamboo. And throughout the night, the relationship of the light changes, and now the light is coming from the inside, and it almost becomes like a lantern, illuminated during the night. This is also something that is interesting to see, all these shadows on the tin roof. You can see that every single floorboard is different on that terrace. You almost sometimes hit your toe on one of the floorboards or everything. It's just, you feel that it was made by somebody with the hand of somebody. And this is the final shot. You just see these two lanterns, and it just creates a very dramatic effect throughout the night of this place in the middle of the forest. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, you can tell from the reaction how impressive that was as an example of the poetry of architecture. Who'd like to kick us off? Barry.
Congratulations, a very, very beautiful house, and obviously a very moving story. I think one thing that's very interesting is you tell the story obviously as biographical and autobiographical. Results, appealing house almost for anyone. I wonder if you could say about this house as a replicable model.
Yes, I have had people from different countries, even Venezuela, wanting to use this house for schools and classrooms. I've had people wanting to buy just one side of the module. I have just people realize that it's actually something that could be multiplied. So it is a container of space, I think, in space is universal.
Could I just add to that and say, was that a consideration when you made the design, that you were making something which in a sense could be generic, a model for other things? So there was a sort of almost you were conscious of that, even though it was a very personal piece of design.
Yes, for me, I think that space is almost functionless. It's space. It's more profound, and it could be brought somewhere else.
Enrique.
Well, felicidades. And my comment was going a little bit in the same direction. And I wanted to commend you for being able to translate, on one hand, this sort of very complex emotional condition into a very simple and straightforward and generic in the good way, generic and basic in the good way example, you know, and how to make a container that it's very responsive, probably, you know, to the local conditions of this western beach in Costa Rica. And that could be used, as already has been implied, for a variety of uses. And that's why instead of calling it a house, you know, I'm calling it a shelter. You know? It's a space that could somehow enclose a variety of conditions, which is what this kind of lifestyle probably is about.
Thank you. Catherine.
I want to commend you on a beautiful piece of basically landscape architecture. I mean, you've used natural, environmental pieces, local materials. It's basically a very sustainable design, and it's really quite lovely.
Thank you very much. I wanted to say just that the house was $40,000. It was a very low budget as well.
Hanif.
I think it's all been said. It's the big issue is how you replicate something like that. What I was quite admirable about is that I think we forget that architecture changes minds. And I got, you know, I was skeptical before I heard about this project. Now listening to your moving story, I think it's, for me, the big shift is in how this could be replicated, which is what the other people have said. How can we actually promote things like this even more?
Thank you very much. I do think that it is an architecture of love and of the heart, and there is something real perhaps there that I was trying to look for.
I think all said. Benjamin Garcia Sachs, thank you very much. Please take your trophy.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Look at the camera.